On August 9th, Square Enix released a short trailer of their upcoming roleplay game, Forspoken, after being displayed multiple times, and we can clearly see that it was trolled by all the gamers and viewers. Forspoken has already faced the heat on how the game portrayed its black female main character. The trailer had some cringe-worthy moments, and the dialogues reminded the internet of a rip-off of Joss Whedon's work. So, let's find out. Firstly, to the recent release of the short trailer. The trailer launch of the game Forspoken was welcomed by the general audience with a whole lot of trolling and roasting. Even though the past trailers of the game did receive some good feedback from the audience, the recent ones proved to be a train wreck. Soon after the release, the gaming community showed their reaction by roasting the cringy narration and by making parodies with other gaming characters. And we have to admit the replies are pretty savage. Some wrote dialogues in the POV of Kazuma Kiryu, and they for sure will even share that to their therapist. We also saw the POV of games such as Yakuza, Doom, Resident Evil, and Bloodborne. Some Twitter fans claimed that it was like a Joss Whedon tier crap parody, and even the Eurogamer Chris Tapsell did not shy away from the roasting meme train, and his internal monologue was pretty hilarious. Some fans have said that the narration has ruined the game for them, but others are still pretty excited for the game's release. So, what even is the plot of this game? Forspoken is an upcoming console game, expected to be released on PlayStation 5 and Windows on January 24, 2023. Forspoken is developed by a new team set up from developers on Final Fantasy XV by Square Enix's partnership with Luminous Productions. After PS5 first unveiled in mid-2020, we got a peek of all the new multiple games that will be released for the new console. One of those was an intriguing game called Project Athia, but years later we got to know the real title of the game is Forspoken, after Square Enix confirmed it on a live stream in 2021. The plot of the game revolves around the journey of the protagonist, a young New Yorker called Frey, who got transported through an interdimensional portal to an alluring yet brutal land of Athia. The players will try to find her way back home, while she learns how to channel her new dope powers to fight monstrous creatures and traverse mysterious landscapes. Forspoken is a single-player only game. Moving on to, what is Isekai? The game Forspoken's plot story falls into an isekai's trope. It is a subgenre of manga and fantasy anime which revolves around an ordinary person, usually through some vague plot description, who finds themselves in the fantasy world. While in Japanese media, it has garnered huge popularity, but even in the Western media, a lot of content still falls into the tropes of an isekai. Lewis Carroll's Alice in the Wonderland is an example. Just like Alice was transported to Wonderland, in isekai, we see characters getting to travel into the books, movies, and video games. Mostly, the plot of an isekai starts with the culture shock the main character goes through after traversing to a new strange world that feels some sort of a clone of the Lord of the Rings universe. In the case of the protagonist of Forspoken, Frey, this priceless and somewhat of a corny dialogue in the trailer portrays her inherent culture shock. So let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call dead. I'm seeing freaking dragons. And oh yeah, I'm talking to a cuff. Yeah, okay, that is something I do now. I do magic, kill jacked up beast. I'll probably fly next. But what makes the dialogue suck? As soon as the fans viewed the trailer, the users started comparing it to some stilted dialogue taken out of a late 2000s show and reminded them of the quippy work of Joss Whedon, who is mostly known for the few Avengers flicks in series such as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Derek Liu, who is a game trailer editor, analyzed this matter closely to find out why the trailer did not receive a positive response. He thinks that the narration in the trailer seems stupid as there is nada, zero emotional connection between the narrator and the audience. The audience does not even know anything about the game and what they were expecting. They were pretty much asking for it. According to Derek, the narrator seems like a salesperson and is trying to desperately sell it to the audience with some cringe-worthy, whimsical dialogues and reactions. But sadly, it didn't work well. Finally, is it a game to look out for? Though the game seems promising, Forspoken will benefit from the amazing power of PS5 that will showcase the capabilities of next-gen, such as enhanced procedural generation for landscapes and terrains and ray tracing. After the release of Final Fantasy XV, it will be the first game to be created under the banner of Luminous Engine, which is considered as a direct competitor to Fortnite's Ultimate Engine. The story takes us into the magical lands full of beasts, dragons, and loads of magic. All the memes are funny. It seems that the audience took it way too far and is pretty over the top. The trailers released before this had Frey narrating in the same exact way, but we saw no backlash. The voiceover of a short teaser cannot show us the full picture and reflect how the narration will turn out. Till then, we can wait for the release and find out how Forspoken will turn out. In other news, firstly, all the insights we've gathered over the main enemies of Frey in Forspoken. In Forspoken, Frey will be transported to Athia, where she will encounter many deadly creatures such as breakstorms. Athia is under the control of Tantas, sorceresses who have now become malevolent, and all seems fairly not well. Athia is under the control of a force called Bray, which wraps everything into a corrupted version once it touches. But surprisingly, Frey is not at all affected by the Bray, and for her to return home, she has to defeat defeat Tantus. Gamers will be free to explore all the terrains easily through the magical abilities of Frey, which enables her to zoom across the map at lightning speed. But it won't be such a piece of cake, would it? And for that, dangerous obstacles await, most treacherous being the break storms, which seems like a fog that sweeps across the landscapes. If gamers run into one, they will have to face off against mobs of enemies, even the deadliest of Jabberwock. If Frey manages to put up with the onslaught, she will then encounter a final boss character to test her skill, and in order to get out, she needs to win. Secondly, Forspoken has been rated PEGI 18 for the usage of strong words, alcohol usage, and purchases. In Europe, Forspoken has been rated by PEGI and earned a rating of 18 due to the use of strong language and words such as FUCK, also some milder terms. Also, the violence in the game, both in the fantasy and in realistic settings. Graphic scenes of violence such as Frey being beaten and kicked by a group of thugs and even holding a gun on her head. Also, violence portrayed against fantasy characters who bleed yellow blood when they are knocked backwards. Also, the use of alcohol. When the character at a bar orders drinks of alcohol, the player's stats can be affected by the drinks, but in a random way with some probable negative outcomes. In-game purchases are also mentioned as the reason for rating 18, according to the PEGI website. But is the Final Fantasy series seem to be struggling? The producer of the Final Fantasy, Naoki Yoshida, who revived Final Fantasy XIV, thinks that the series isn't adapting to new trends well in the wide prominent changes in the gaming industry. In an interview with Inverse, he said, "In terms of whether Final Fantasy is successfully adapting to industry trends, I believe the series is currently struggling. We're now at a point where we receive a wide variety of requests regarding the direction of our game design. It might be going through some rough patches, but Naoki doesn't consider it as something bad and wants to keep it operating for decades to come, while ensuring that Final Fantasy XV gamers have a fun gaming experience. He is currently producing the Final Fantasy XVI, the upcoming single-player game of the series, and will explore with some mature themes. It is set to be released in the summer of 23. Lastly, is Forspoken releasing on Xbox in 2025? Another delay. Earlier this past few months, we got to know that Forspoken has been delayed yet again, as the ongoing discussion with the game partner seems to be the reason, which means that Xbox felt there might be a clash between the release dates of God of War Ragnarok and Forspoken, which in turn delayed Forspoken's release to 2023. And since Square Enix has signed a 2-year timed exclusivity agreement with Sony, which further delays the release of game and would be added in Xbox in January 2025. That's a wrap for this video. Are you waiting for the release of Forspoken? Which tweet or video did you find hilarious in the meme train? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.